Hey up everyone, welcome back to the Rugby League History channel. Today on the channel I'll be doing my 2025 Parramatta Eels season preview. I do one of these every year before the season starts for Parramatta. Just a bit of background on myself. I've supported this club for well over 30 years, pretty much my entire life, so I'm showing my age there. But when it comes to this club, I believe I'm one of the most honest supporters out there. I'm not biased at all. I tell things how they are. I've ripped into this club several times since this channel started and before I had this channel. So I'm going to give you an unbiased preview of the season and I'm going to give you an honest opinion of how we're going to go, and also just briefly talk about the signings that we brought in, the draw and some other things. So stay tuned for the rest of the video. So just a brief recap on last year. I know that we don't really want to talk about it too much as Parramatta supporters, but in my own personal opinion and for myself personally, it was the fucking hardest year of my life supporting this club. It was brutal. It was fucking really hard. At one stage I thought, I just have to take a break away from this channel and this club because it's getting to a point where it's affecting my mental health. Last year, everything that could go wrong with the season went wrong. Injuries, then we had the old Brad Arthur caper, and I remember halfway through the year after we lost against like a third string South Sydney side, I said to myself, this club's in crisis, we're fucked, we're in massive trouble here, like. And there was a couple of people laughing, going, hey, fucking crisis, you're full of shit, blah, blah, blah. Then there was even one person on one of the Parramatta pages that tried to shut me channel down. He says, boycott this channel, this fucking guy's full of shit, don't listen to him, he's a fucking hater and all that. Well, it got down to the last game of the year, final day of the year, and we just avoided the spoon against the West Tigers. I think we put in one of our best performances for the year and we gave West Tigers a good touch over, and we ended up avoiding the spoon and we actually jumped a place because South Sydney come second last. So last year, on a personal note, well, the hardest fucking season ever supporting this club, and we've come last a couple of times, well 3 times since I've supported this club. But 2012, 2013, looking at the roster, you kind of went, well, look at the squad we've got, what do you expect? We're fucking shite. But 2018, I've done a video on that. I think we were the unluckiest wooden spooners ever. We had so many things go against us that year. But last year, it was just so frustrating because on paper, we had a squad that was nowhere near bad enough to get the spoon, but just with all the injuries and all the other shite going on, it just weren't good. So less said about 2024, the better. Let's talk about 2025. I'd say the biggest news going into 2025 is the fact that we've got a new head coach, first time in 11 years with Jason Ryles. Obviously he's had a very long apprenticeship at Eastern Suburbs and Melbourne, and he's done a bit of a clean out going through the club. He's done some other things, and there's been some real positive signs behind the scenes going from 2024 into the pre-season 2025 and then the trials and all that caper. So I'll speak about Jason Ryles a little bit later on, but there's also been a lot of activity in the transfer window or in the transfer market, whatever you want to call it. So one of the things that Parramatta really had a problem with last year, on top of all the injuries and the depth and all that, was the backs. And I know the Cumberland Throw touched on it, a couple of other Parramatta pages touched on it, was we had a serious lack of depth in the backs. And I believe that we had the slowest back line in the competition, without a doubt. And I think we've fixed that somewhat. We've signed Isaiah Iongi from Penrith. Zach Lomax is the big one. He's the major signing from St George, and also Josh Addo-Carr. That's 3 players there that are quick, especially with Addo-Carr. He brings a lot of experience to the squad. Grand final winner, played in the biggest matches, State of Origin games, World Cup finals, played for Australia, all that caper. But the 3 of them, especially with Zach Lomax, I believe he's in career best form. And the 3 of them bring a lot of speed to the back line, a lot of depth, a lot of quality. And then there's been some other good signings as well. Jack Williams from Cronulla Sutherland. I think he's a decent signing. Dean Hawkins from South Sydney. He's going to be the backup to Mitchell Moses if he gets injured, God forbids. And then there's a couple of other players that I don't really know too much about. Kisione Katoga from Canterbury Bankstown. Joash Papali'i, apparently he's been doing okay in the trials, but I don't really know too much about him either. And Jordan Samrani, we've also signed him from Canterbury Bankstown. So we're signing a few of our arch rivals players. Going on to the transfers out, we've got shot of a lot of players. Obviously, one of the big uns, I'd say the big un, is Blaise Tulungi. He went to Penrith. I already shared my thoughts about that last year. Ethan Sanders, some people have said it's a big loss. I don't really think it is. Maybe it's just because I'm a bit harsh on him, but when he came into first grade, he didn't really set the world on fire for me, and I don't think he played particularly well in the New South Wales Cup last year. Matt Arthur, disappointed with that one because he had a lot of raps on him in the lower grades, and I mean, why would he want to stay around after what happened to his dad? So I can understand why he left. Zach Sini, he's no loss. Dejan Assi, thanks for your help when you were called upon, but I don't really think he was first grade standard. Isaac Lumi, I'm not going to miss him. Mackenzie Makatoa, Offigi Ogden. I mean, they were all okay occasionally when they were called upon. Regan Campbell-Gillard, I really think we should have kept him, but I think he was asking for a bit more money than the club was prepared to pay. That's one of the reasons why I left. Lorenzo Mulatalo, well, he only got a game because of the injuries that we had. Micah Sivo, I have mixed feelings about that one, but I think that the club was right in letting him go. Clint Gutherson is obviously one that's been talked about a lot. I think it was pretty shitty from what the club did to him, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. And I really think that he should have been allowed to see out the final year of his contract, and he should have got a proper farewell in front of the fans and a proper send-off. Because I think for what he's given to the club and what he was to the club, and some of the things that he did when he was at the club, I mean, like he finishes the 5th highest try scorer in Parramatta history, top 10 for appearances. I think he's the 5th highest point scorer in the club's history, and all the stuff that he did in all the years he was there, I think he deserved a bit better. And Morgan Harper, well, I'm not really sad to see him go, so North Sydney can have him. Going into the actual draw though for this year, it doesn't get any order. Round 1 we play against Melbourne down there at Amy Park, and they're going to say this stat for I think the next fortnight. Melbourne hasn't lost a round 1 game under Craig Bellamy since 2003, or I think it's 2003, or they've never lost a round 1 game under him, and they're going to keep going on about that on and on and on and on. So very tough, and especially I think we're going to start round 1 without Mitchell Moses and Paolo, and I think a couple of other players, so very tough. And I think the first few games start the year are very tricky, because round 2 we play against West Tigers, and I mean they're a bit of an unknown. I mean, they're coming off 3 wooden spoons in a row, but they've recruited very well, and who knows how they're going to go in 2025. I mean, they're going to be a different side than they were the last couple of years, I'll tell you that. And then we've got our arch rivals, Canterbury Bankstown, round 3, and Manly Warringah, round 4 at Brookvale Oval. Going to be tough games there. But the good thing is that with a few of the games to start the year, especially round 5 against St George, where we're at home, we're at Parramatta Stadium, the new Parramatta, Western Sydney Stadium, whatever you want to call it. Our final ever Darwin game is in round 6, because for the last few years, last I think 10 years, we've had a deal with TIO Stadium and the Northern Territory to bring 1 game up there. And I will say, from a financial point of view, it was great. Everything else, it was fucking daft, because half the time we were taking games against teams where all pre-season and throughout the year they're accustomed to playing in the heat, and they're accustomed to that type of energy sapping weather. And we were playing against North Queensland, we're playing against fucking Brisbane, we're playing against Redcliffe. Daft, it's fucking stupid. I don't know why we were doing it, but this is the last one, and we're playing against Canberra, so it's going to be a bit better, because Canberra's not going to be used to the heat either. So hopefully in round 6 we get a good result against Canberra. Our first bye's in round 8, which I think is not too bad. I think the middle part of the year, looking at it, is a bit kinder to us. We've got the likes of Manly at home, but we've also got Newcastle, we've got Redcliffe, and we've got teams like that. But I'd say like it's going to be difficult in certain parts of the year, because we do play a couple of teams that I look at them and I go, we can beat them. And I look at some of the other teams that we have to play and I kind of go, these are going to be tough games back to back, especially rivalry games. Like once again, round 13, round 14, we play Penrith and then we play Canterbury. So that's going to be tough. But we get 2 byes that are very close to each other as well, round 15 and round 18. And I think obviously going into round 19, that's going to be good because we get the bye round 18. Round 19, we play against Penrith. So it'll be good to be rested against a team like Penrith. But in saying that, in the last couple of years, we've had a really rough ride home with the draws. I think we've had to play some very tough teams, but going into the draw to close out the year this year, we play against, let's say, like the last 5 games, we play against North Queensland at home, we play against South Sydney at the Olympic Stadium, so neutral territory. We play Eastern Suburbs at home, which is an advantage, and then we play New Zealand away in Auckland, and I think considering how we played against them last year in Auckland, we don't figure going there, and then we finish off the season against Newcastle at home. So I think compared to other years where we've had to play Melbourne, Penrith, Eastern Suburbs, and like another sort of a top team, say Cronulla or whatever, this year it's easier. I'm gonna say there's no easy games in the NRL, but compared to some of the other years, it's a bit easier for us to draw. Now I just want to talk about Jason Ryles just for a little bit. So Jason Ryles, new head coach coming in 2025, and as I mentioned earlier in the video, he's done a bit of a clean out, got some players in. The players seem to love him in the interviews when they're talking about him. They seem to really like him. One thing that kind of holds me back in certain ways is that Parramatta's been down this road before. As if you remember, back in the early 2010s, we had Daniel Anderson as the head coach. He got shot out in place of Stephen Kearney. Now, Stephen Kearney had been in the Melbourne system for a while, and everyone kind of thought at the time, well, Stephen Kearney's been in a winning environment, winning club culture. He's going to bring that to Parramatta. Well, wrong, because he was probably one of the worst head coaches in Parramatta's history, and I think he's one of the worst head coaches of the modern era. He had no fucking idea. He had no clue. The way that he tried to do things at Parramatta, he tried to get Parramatta to play a Melbourne style of rugby. It just didn't work out. He got the players offside. And I think that's a thing about the media and fans and people today. They think, oh, this person's been at Melbourne, this person's been at Eastern Suburbs, therefore it means when they go somewhere else, they're going to bring the success and they're going to be successful there. Well, there's been a few assistant coaches that have been in the Melbourne system, they've been in the Eastern Suburbs system, Sydney Roosters system, and they haven't been successful head coaches. Like some of the names I could rattle off, it's like you got Kevin Walters, you got Adam O'Brien, you've got Justin Holbrook, and there's a couple of other ones that probably if I went back and did a bit of research, they were all in them systems and they didn't bring success to wherever they went. So one thing I am worried a little bit about Jason Ryles is that I don't want him to be a Stephen Kearney 2.0, but I think that he's had a very long apprenticeship under some very good head coaches, and he seems like a bit of a no-nonsense type of a guy. So I'm prepared to give him a go, and I just really hope that he can sort of instill some things into the club that have been lacking over the last couple of years. So going into 2025 and the prediction for how I think we'll go, I'm being honest. A lot of people out there have Parramatta coming towards the bottom of the table or last. I don't think that we're going to come last, and I don't think we're going to finish towards the bottom of the table. I'm going to say, in my personal opinion, that realistically this is more of a rebuild year for the club, and I think that we can finish anywhere between, say, like 9th to a 12th or a 13th. I think we're a couple of players maybe off being a top 8 team. We're definitely not a contender or out like that, so Parramatta fans, don't get your hopes up. But I think a lot of people are placing us very low on the table because of what happened last year. But what you have to understand, last year is outside of South Sydney, we had the second, this is just my own personal opinion, we had the second worst injury toll of any club. because it got to a point where we were getting players like Targo and Lorenzo Mulatalo and these type of players that were playing Ron Massey Cup for Wentworthville, and we were giving them NRL contracts, and we were giving other players starts in first grade that would never get they would never get a run in first grade, like that Dan Kerr, I think his name is. There was a couple of other players that, if it weren't for the injuries, they would never play first grade. And there's no disrespect to them players, but that's just the facts. And there was a couple of games, I remember, I think there was one game against Brisbane where we had that bad of injuries that our spine was Blaze Tulungi, Dejan Assi, Ethan Sanders, and we had Joey Lussick. I think that was our spine for that game. So you had literally Ethan Sanders had only played 2 first grade games, Dejan Assi's only played less than 30, Blaze Tulungi, he was another rookie playing like his 5th game or whatever. That's what we had. And some of the teams that we fielded towards the end of the year, it's a miracle that we didn't come last. Even Trent Barrett said, like, we're literally down to the bare bones, we got fucking nounced. But somehow we managed to avoid the spoon. But I think this year we got a fit Mitchell Moses coming back, Dylan Brown. We've got some other players that were injured last year that are coming back. We're going to have a full strength team. I think that we're going to finish a bit higher. I like some of the signings that Ryles has brought in, but I think we're just a couple of other players off being a top 8 team again. God forbid Mitchell Moses does not get injured, because we've seen what we're like with Mitchell Moses, and when we play without him. When we're with him, we're decent, we're sound. When he's not there, we fall apart like a Chinese motorcycle. Pretty much, we're fucking terrible. But I think, yeah, I think we're a couple of players off being a good top 8 side. But that's where I think, honestly, that we're going to finish this year, between 9th to 13th. If we play finals, brilliant. If we don't play finals, I'm not going to be upset personally, because I don't expect us to play finals. I know that there's probably going to be some Parramatta fans out there that think, yeah, we can make the top 4, we can be a finals team. You're always going to get them fans where they're very optimistic. But I'm sort of like a realist about things, and I think that's just where we're going to finish. So that's me 2025 Parramatta Eels season preview. I hope you enjoyed this preview. If you did, let me know in the comment section below, and let me know where you think Parramatta is going to finish this year, and who do you think is going to be our player of the year, the Ken Thornton Net medal, and who else do you think is going to start for Parramatta in 2025? Anyways, this has been Rugby League History, and I'll catch you all later in the next video. Alright, ta-ra for now.